Hi, I'm Rusty Tanton with my co-manager host, Bresden O'Malley. Welcome back to The One-on-One. If you're new here, welcome. The One-on-One is a podcast built for the people who keep the software industry moving. Our mission is simple: to create a platform where engineers, leaders, and tech professionals can have real, honest conversations about the work we do, the challenges we face, and the industry shifts shaping our future.
So Rusty and I are just really excited today. We were reached out on LinkedIn by Andrey, who is a founder and CEO of Distillery, which is a leading nearshore software development company powered by AI. Andrey now focuses on delivering world-class solutions that not only meet business goals, but help reshape how modern teams scale and succeed. So we're going to look at the real-world impact of generative AI in software development to advice for engineers navigating a tough job market. This conversation will offer insights, candor, and some forward-looking vision into where the industry is headed. Really excited. Thank you so much for listening. Now let's get into it. This is Andrey. Is it CEO of Distillery? Is that the CEO of Distillery? Why don't you give us an overview of what that is?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Well, thank you so much for having me. First of all, Distillery as a company name is rather unusual and a little deceiving. However, we don't do
It's true.
anything with alcohol, despite our name literally says otherwise. We are a team of professional software developers. Like Steven Ballmer used to say, developers. That actually represents 90+% of our company population. And we run nearshore software delivery centers in Mexico, Argentina, Chile, Peru, Colombia. We help our clients in the United States deliver what they want to their clients faster than they could without our help. We used to play a little joke on our name. Every Thanksgiving, we would send our clients a nice bottle of whiskey, saying that this is from your favorite distillery. And yeah, it's actually going quite well. It's a catchy name that I was lucky to buy a domain back in 2016, I believe. I
Wow.
just reached out randomly to a guy saying, look, at the time we were building mobile applications, and clients would usually come to us with a bunch of ideas. Hey, we want to build this. And this could be anywhere from Facebook for $5,000 to something quite reasonable for quite reasonable amount of money. And our process was, well, let's distill it down to something that we can build in a time frame that you guys have, with a budget that you guys have, and then put it in the market, test it, iterate, and see if your idea is working. And this is how the Distillery name came into play, because we wanted to distill clients' ideas from raw components down to something tangible, something actually tasty and good.
Now that's great.
Back in
I
the
love that
company
name.
history days, we built a couple of applications that were featured by Apple, and that's something that I'm proud of.
That's
Oh,
great.
that is really exciting. You did mention the term nearshore, and just for our listeners, do you want to explain the difference between nearshore and onshore and
And
offshore?
offshore.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I know the difference is in just several letters, but it's actually quite big and truly defines the model of work. When we talk about offshore locations in relationship to United States, we usually think about Asia, India, and all those countries where time difference is greater than 5 hours. So if you think about West Coast, anything that is like beyond Argentina and Brazil, this is going to be nearshore. Time difference does make a big difference when you want to do agile development, because agile works when you are in real time communication with your team, when you can touch base when you need to touch base, and not wait for the next day to resolve some issues, or wait for the update when you wake up but the team is already sleeping. Onshore model is great. It solves this problem, right? You can move agile, you can move very fast, you can iterate at a light speed. However, well, there is a problem with onshore resources. They're usually slightly 3 times more expensive than nearshore developers. And nearshore developers, they sit right in the middle. Price-wise, it's definitely a little bit more expensive than Asia, India, and such. However, they cross the bridge between, hey, we're in the same time zone. And especially after pandemic, there is literally no difference between engineers sitting in Texas, if you have a company in California, and engineers sitting in Mexico or Buenos Aires, because they speak the same language. They all have slight accent as well as I do, but they work in your time zone, period. 9 to 6 p.m. or whatever the hours your company usually has. This is what we match minute to minute. So that's the biggest difference, the time zone and obviously the cost benefit that we provide to our clients.
Yeah, I know, Bresden, I know you've worked with offshore teams. I've worked with offshore teams in India and Ireland as well. And it's a real challenge where, half of your crew is asleep when you're trying to do your work. And you have to come up with all sorts of sort of crazy things just to get work done. Like, you have to really funnel your bugs into 5 o'clock and make sure they're done so that the team offshore can look at it. And then you just hope that they got it right in the morning. And sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. And if they didn't, you're not going to be able to talk to them again until tomorrow. So I've definitely felt that it's a struggle.
Absolutely. But Rusty, I don't want to say that offshore development doesn't work at all. It obviously does.
Sure.
If you have really good procedures,
Yeah.
if you move like in a well-defined and established environment, when you put the project on the side, you said, guys, come back to me when it's ready. It works like miracle. And obviously there is a lot of business to be done in offshore locations, and is getting done right now. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry.
Sure.
However, as I mentioned, it's if you're looking for a good balance between what time zone advantage gives you and the speed that you want to move, and honestly, for the right price, the nearshore is actually filling this sweet spot.
Yeah, that's cool. One other thing I know, so Distillery was founded in 2012. So I would imagine, AI wasn't really like at the forefront of everything. So like how was Distillery's journey from, what it was as founded in 2012, a software, a nearshore software development shop? Like, how did you begin your journey into integrating AI into your workflows?
Oh, wow. The word AI, we're just opening the Pandora box, right? And I'm sure that we're talking today, in 2 weeks or 2 months, someone will be listening to this conversation like, that's so outdated. It's just we're moving with such a speed that it's just hard to imagine. I knew that the Gen AI will be here at some point. Even 5 years ago, there were already indications, and we were doing AI and data before. That was called AI and data before ChatGPT was a known entity. But yeah, it's actually moving quite fast. For us, our journey was dictated by, we have always stayed close to clients' data. We have partnerships with some major data providers. And for us, if you work with data, if you work with ML models, if you work with something that Gen AI simply needs, it's part of your job. I think at some point for us, Gen AI was a scary thing that we were afraid it will simply replace us, developers, and clients will no longer need us or will need us far less. It turned out to be that we just became more efficient to our clients, deliver more, letting them move faster. But there is not less. There is definitely no less of demand. It's actually the demand has increased, especially if you know how to use AI tools, if you know how to use them efficiently, and you know how to be this 10x engineer that used to be only in Google and Facebook. Now, any engineer can be this 10x guy. Our journey became, I would say, about 5 years ago when we started working with prediction models for some of our clients. We work with highly regulated sector, fintech, some banks, and they obviously accumulated a lot of data. Many clients right now want AI. What they don't understand is, before you venture into AI, even if you're building a simple bot, well, guess what? Until you have the data that clean and well structured, that outlines and predicts the answers that users will be getting, your bot will be giving the answers to your users that you will never want them to see. And it's basically a good ground for litigation. So what we're doing right now with many of our clients who are just, what can we do in AI? It's like, well, first of all, let's do a step back. what do you have in terms of data? How do you collect it? How do you maintain it? How do you clean it? How do you keep it fresh and relevant? And this is what our company has been doing for quite some time already. That doesn't mean that we do only that. Obviously, there are some, the company needs a website. There is still a mobile application somewhere around. And we support soup to nuts digital businesses for our clients. But the focus is lately, especially, has been on the data engineering. The challenge, especially lately, became to be a talent. What can you get from the market if you don't have the internal school within your company? Right now, it's just very difficult / very expensive and very slow to hire engineers who know at least a little bit of AI, meaning that we had to actually develop some programs. We built a Distillery AI lab in order to actually be serious about this initiative, because a lot of our competitors, they're larger companies, they have more resources. A small, or I would say mid-sized company like ours definitely didn't want to be outdated. So for us, the progress was AI was always here, but we put a focus on data. Then we obviously became aware of all the tools that AI revolution brought into the software development world. Honestly, ChatGPT is not the best for software developers right now. A majority of our population uses Cursor and some other different tools. And it's not exclusive, actually. One engineer can have several different licenses for Gen AI. And then lately, what we were doing for ourselves and for our clients is internal innovation. There is a product that I cannot mention, but I can mention the company Databricks that we are partners of, and we're building something for them to showcase at their conference. So for us, the goal is to not become a product company. I actually don't have this ambition, but I want to have Distillery. I want Distillery to be known as a data engineering company. And in case our clients or potential customers will ask, well, why Distillery and not 5 other companies? Well, because Distillery knows your data best.
Neat. What kinds of growing pains did y'all encounter along the way, and how did you overcome those?
That's a good question. In terms of growing pains, let's divide it by growing size-wise, and second, growing relevant to the industry. From the first perspective, size-wise, for us, the pain was, how do we build a team of what we have, a structured team of senior engineers? How do we build a pyramid out of them? How do you rank them, and how do you say, you know what, this person who manages 25 people is actually a level 1 engineer versus this person who manages a team of 100, obviously through the pyramid, he might be level 2. Historically, when you grow, you slap the titles anywhere you want. It's you want to be a head of department, great. What do you know about people management? Probably nothing. That's okay. We'll figure it out later. So when the company grew, it was the time to go back, actually set up more or less strict salary bands, more or less strict parameters, how you move from individual contributor to we have stack managers, we have heads of departments, and we have head of delivery. So what are the parameters that you have to have, how to move from this level to that level? And honestly, even teach our team, as if you go higher from level 1 individual contributor, you may be on a conversation with clients. But if you're head of department, it's an expectation that you talk to clients, and this is probably going to be 70% of your job instead of coding. You at this level, you rarely code. Your billable level is less than 25% usually. So for us, the growing pain was also, how do we upscale our team? How do we teach them to become client facing, become consultative? Because they're engineers, they're great developers. At some point they were almost afraid of clients, but through the series of training, we had to hire a trainer in Argentina in order to actually teach them how to be client facing and how to deliver value to a company, to us, and to the clients once you go and you become less of a developer and more of a manager. So that's the growth trajectory. And I believe that every company who plans to grow, they need to build a structure. I'm guilty of not building this sooner. As I said, at the time of COVID, when we were doubling every year, it was just it was a zoo. Whoever wants to take the seat takes the seat. We'll figure it out later. Now, the second piece is relevancy to the industry. I will tell you a short but full story of our company. We started as a database development company. I'm actually, and this comes from the founder, I am a database, Microsoft SQL Server database certified administrator and developer. I used to develop those OLAP cubes, SQL Server reports, etc. So my background is actually data. SQL Server became a little bit obsolete, especially nowadays. We moved into web, we moved into mobile, then mobile became omnipresent everywhere through React Native applications, and now you technically no longer have mobile. There are some cases where you need to build native apps, but honestly, React application is as good as native right now and works on every device. And our next iteration was how do we want to be different from 50 other companies around? And then we made a focus on data, and we've been moving on the data train for the last several years. And our 2025, 2029 plan says one thing: we want to be a data engineering company. So that's how you stay relevant to the industry. It's important to see the trends. It's important to not just be reactive to what clients want. In the services industry, that means that you're already behind. If your client asks you, hey guys, what do you think about this? Or have you done this? You're one step behind your competitors. It's you who should go and tell the clients, you know what, we've seen this. We build Distillery AI Lab. Do you guys want to ideate with us? Here is what we're building within. And I think it will be relevant to your firm. But first, you need to make this and these steps. This means that you're at least on the same level with your clients and with the speed that they're moving, but usually you're even half a step ahead of them. So that's the second piece of how to build a company that grows, but also stays relevant.
Cool.
No, that's an amazing answer. That's great. Just curious, but where do you still feel generative AI is more hype than actually helpful? And only because I can see you having these sales calls with clients and trying to slow them down and say, well, that's not really how that works.
All right. So we have had calls when our prospective customers and even existing client base were just, hey, AI can do everything now, and how do we get rid of this department? And it's like, let's hold on to this for now.
Yeah,
Let's see how we
yeah.
can make this department more efficient with the use of AI. And this is where the hype train is. AI can do everything and will do everything without human interaction, without human observations. Like, that's not the case yet, at least. And I probably will be biting my tongue 6 months later. But as of this moment, as of today, this is not the case. AI can't do everything. This is it's not there yet. However, it's developing very, very fast. The other hype example that I've seen specifically in the professional services industry is it's from within. It's how do we make this? How do we make AI work miracles for us? We need to hire. We need to deliver the talent to our clients, and we need to maintain this talent and grow their skill set. Can we do our recruitment department? Can they become 10x hires? Every single one of them. It's like, they cannot. We developed an internal tool that allows us to find the right candidate from the huge database of thousands, actually tens of thousands of engineers that we have, and deliver this to the client. We became more efficient in this. However, that didn't replace our recruitment team. We became better in opening statements in our outreach to the clients. Our sales team became more efficient. Didn't replace the sales teams. As a matter of fact, we are hiring more people right now to manage our sales. It's moving fast. There is a lot of hype. The hype doesn't stem from AI not able to do things. The hype right now is coming from people who think that it can do anything and everything. So that's my take on where hype train is. It's definitely present. I can tell that. But also, here is another thing that I saw. We have a weird mix of clients between startups, high growth startups who just raised money at sometimes insane valuations, and they just cannot hire fast enough. This is where we come in. And the other side, there are well-known corporate enterprise clients. The enterprise clients, they're in a weird scenario right now when they double into AI, they test AI. At the same time, I've seen on their MSAs, master service agreements, and SOWs, there is literally a line saying you're not allowed to use AI tools. Well, without our permissions. Like, great. How do you want your engineers to be efficient if you literally prohibit them to use anything but this one specific tool? And this one specific tool is not the best, and we can tell this. So it's very interesting. They mature organizations, they want to try it, but I haven't seen huge investments from those bigger companies. They're still in this ideation phase and kind of testing the water with AI in general. Again, this is our experience based on dozens of clients that we have. I guess a bigger company with hundreds of clients, thousands of clients, can bring you examples of something that is way more relevant. And $1 billion company actually goes all in on AI. We have not seen this, and I thought, and everyone was thinking that those are companies who will use it to their own advantage and very, very fast because they have money to pay. Sometimes people don't understand that ChatGPT, when you bring it into the corporate environment and you start paying for tokens, gosh, that's expensive.
Sure. Yeah, and I mean, you bring up a good point, because I think something one of my colleagues posted on LinkedIn kind of piqued my interest, and they said it's not that a lot of CEOs are closed-minded about using AI, it's that nobody has presented a business case to them to say this is how it's going to actually make us some money, as opposed to being this huge novel cash suck. Like, how have you encountered that, and like, how do you make the case that it's actually that there's value there?
For us, that's actually very easy.
Yeah.
We track the performance of our engineers on several projects and several clients, and we ran an experiment where we would equip someone with, first of all, AI train someone, and then equip them with AI tools of their choice, unlimited. They were at least 40 to 60% more efficient, delivering more points per sprint than a person of the same caliber with the same skill set. And we know both of them because they worked for years at Distillery, who didn't get the opportunity to use AI tools. And this is a big number, 40 to 60%. We're not talking about 10x, but look, that's a huge number of in terms of productivity increase. And we've seen even bigger increase, sometimes I would say 2 to 3x for quality assurance. When you need to generate huge data set that is relevant to a specific organization. Prior to that, you actually code this, you define parameters, you create several, tens of thousands of rows of tables, you copy paste, blah, blah, blah. With AI, you just describe it. And it does it in a matter of 2 to 3 minutes. Wow, that usually would take 2 days, and now it's 2 minutes. So we've seen cases like that are very measurable, and we could easily present them to our clients and just justify, look, if you're paying $25 for ChatGPT license, you're saving $3,000 here on the time of your engineer. And you know what? That's a good trade-off.
Yeah. Thank you for that.
I do have a follow-up, and it's kind of around. So I really like your stance on we're not replacing jobs, we're increasing their, the tasks efficiency and your ability to just do those at a faster rate so your velocity increases. But a lot of software engineers today are struggling in kind of a very tough job market. I'm really curious about how or what kind of advice would you give engineers feeling stuck or anxious in today's market?
Okay. One somewhat smart advice and one stupid. The stupid advice that can fix, and unfortunately I've seen this, just slap AI all across your LinkedIn profile, and the number of people or recruiters who reach out to you will double, if not triple. That's
Fair.
not a joke. As a
That's
matter of fact,
fair. No, it's fair.
you better be able to justify the usage of the word AI in your resume, but at least you will have some exposure. The smarter thing is, unfortunately, we are in a tough engineer market, but I don't think that this is what AI brought us to. Meaning that that's not the fault of Gen AI in general. Another reasons that played a big role in this, and specifically lots of major players in our field, in technology in general, just overhired during pandemic. And now we're seeing the reverse effect of, well, let's become a little bit more efficient. AI might be playing a role, but we're talking about a percentage point here and there versus some Facebook-ish style of the company overhired tens of thousands of developers just because the pandemic was there and they plan to grow, and they're not growing to the expectations of their shareholders. So the smarter advice will be, you will still need to become relevant in this world and become familiar with the tools that are currently on the market. You need to what we train our engineers to. If you used to think that you're going to be a mobile app developer till the end of your life and you have the job for the next decade or so, this might not longer be true. You can be and should be a good engineer, a good developer. Now, adopting a new tool, you can become a Python engineer in about 3 months or so. A decent one, not a good one, but definitely not a junior one, because you already know how to do commits, committing the code, refine, working with the development team, working with Jira, etc. This you don't need to learn. You need to learn the new language, and AI can be a huge help if you get stuck, or even if you just want to write something very, very simple and very, very fast. You need to become a multi-tool yourself and be comfortable with that. So we have a program within Distillery, because we're not immune to the market. When some of our clients roll off a team, we now think, what do we do with this team? Do we go and find same type of client with the same technology stack, or do we train our engineers so they can become relevant to 5 other clients? We do the second one. We do train them in order for them to become relevant in this tough job market, because we can no longer assume that if you know how to type on a keyboard and you know that what word Atlassian means, you're employable. That's no longer the case.
Yeah. That's valid.
Absolutely. So going back to this like tough job market, from an engineering perspective, are there any particular skills and attitudes besides being willing to pick up these new skills that are especially in demand? And how would somebody go about up, upskilling themselves?
So, Preston, I will double down on what I said in terms of
Okay.
the market. The market sucks right now,
Yeah.
and it's you guys remember, pandemic was not so long time ago, and also at the same time very long time ago. During the pandemic, we've seen job opening staying empty without any candidates, without any applications, and you have to hunt for engineers. Things have changed so drastically that now you post a job, and at some point you're at the maximum level of candidates that you wanted to admit, because also recruitment team cannot review more than, I don't know, 100 candidates for every job. So that's something, right? In order to how to help engineers to be the one who gets selected for this job, I will say that if the engineer can do something else than they're applying for, that's always a good plus. And for us, I'll give you a couple of just humorous examples, but they're actually quite relevant. If you're an engineer, you fit the job profile, you check the education, you check the work history, but you also speak another language, that's actually a benefit. We like it. We like it a lot. From the perspective of, well, actually, and when I say another language, it's usually the third language for the engineers, because our teams, they're located in Latin America. They speak Spanish, that's their mother tongue, native language. Then they go with English, and we like to employ someone who is at least C1 level. And then if you speak Italian, if you speak any other language, guess what? There will be a client within our portfolio who's like, oh, you know what? And then they just go and kind of venture into this path. It's like that creates the best relationships. This is another example. If you're comfortable working both on Windows and Macs, and I know that there are some people who are very religious about this, but if your future potential employer asks you what choice of laptop do you have, it's like, I can work on both. That would be my answer, and I would better be able to back up this answer. So those are small things, but it feels like people become more generalists nowadays than they have ever been, and this is what makes them more employable and more suitable for any job. We're just moving extremely fast. And the company who wanted to hire 5, trying to find the technology that is like super specific, 5 Scala engineers. It's like, great, 5 Scala engineers for now. They need them for the next 6 months. And then probably for the next 6 months, they will not need them at all. So that's actually where the company is like, ours come in. Let us do this specific job for the specific time frame, and then we're on to the next project. Versus if someone wants to apply for the job, they want to know Scala and something else. They want to know 2 or 3 other languages or be willing to learn.
That is actually a really good answer that I've not heard yet when we've asked this question. So I really appreciate it.
Do you notice any trends? So one of the things I've been seeing in the news lately, because there's talk of like rewriting Social Security, there's all these financial systems that are running on these mainframes with 50 and 60-year-old COBOL on them. I'm not necessarily asking, have you specifically encountered mainframes with COBOL, but do you encounter in your work like any clients that have something that is so old and so stable that they're afraid to touch it? And how do you deal with that?
All right. Actually, look, the short answer to this is yes. And I will expand upon this. But that brings me to your previous question that you asked, how do you, in this tough job market, there is such a scarcity of COBOL engineers. One client of us who shall be unnamed, who is in the banking industry, has the mainframe, and it's a black box, and very few people are allowed to look at it, and even less people are allowed to touch it. If you're one of them, it's this, you're catching the other side of the wave when the number of talent dropped so drastically, but the demand is somewhere still lingering. You're gonna be golden for the next many years. Now, coming to the answer that you asked, Rusty, we've seen this. Yes, there are some very interesting things that the word refactoring does not exist because it's a core of the highly sensitive business application in one of our clients, and actually in some others, and they just don't want to touch it until disaster happens. I've seen us doing. There was one company whom we transformed digitally. Obviously, they had their own team, but we came with a subset of engineers, 20 or 30 people were there. They had the monolith infrastructure, and they were breaking this down by services because they understood you can no longer maintain the monolith. As you touch something here, something down below will fall, and they just became too tired of this. So they decided to invest and say, you know what? Let's spend time, let's spend money. Otherwise, it's a technology that just keeps growing. It's not being resolved. So they started to chip away bits and pieces of functionality from this big monolith thing, and it actually helped for them because they were also a services company to their entertainment clients, and they were able to isolate those clients, whether before they were all in this one big bucket. Now they became better at serving their needs, because if the client A asks you to do this and the client B asks you to do that, in the past, they would just say, you know what, too difficult, or give us 6 months. Now you can optimize this piece of software for client A, for this studio, and this piece of software will become highly relevant with the tools and features that this studio will need. So for them, that was actually a business case where on one side, there was almost a survival of the company. They couldn't move further with a feature implementation for their clients. And second, once they've gone through this stage, it actually became something that they would present as, hey, we're not just a provider. I'm trying to stay very sensitive to the NDAs.
Sure.
We're not just providers of the services. We can customize this for you. We're white gloves solution specifically for your need and specifically for your company. And the only way how they would allow to do this is to actually go and this breakdown, create a microservices infrastructure from this huge monolith of the architecture that they used to have and had it since, I would say, 2000s. That's when they built.
Yeah.
I can name the language. It was built on .NET. So back in the days, I think C++ C classic C sharp or whatever that was. I'm sorry. That's where my technology actually I'm jumping above my level. But they started with Microsoft infrastructure, C sharp, and then it just became web, and then it became accessible to the clients. Blah blah blah. So it was a fun project. We loved it.
Awesome.
No, that's great. I love stories like that. Actually, on that same note, you're not just trying to get engineers to understand Gen I and upskill themselves, but how are you training, your sales to speak to this in an intelligent way that helps that client feel trust in Distillery?
Huh. It's a very good observation. When we first talk to our clients, guess who is not present on the call? Our engineers. They are not there.
Mhm.
The first person who speaks to the potential customer is our sales team, sometimes SDR, sometimes director of growth, etc. The engineers come second, and only if you provided some surety in how you explain what you do. So we actually did that was 2023, if I'm not mistaken. We did a full training for Gen AI for the entire back office, sales team included, but also my executive assistant, for example. Also,
Mhm.
everyone was trained. And then we started to break down what is relevant for each department. And I believe that our sales team received some specifically relevant training for them, for the sales, on how to use Gen AI. However, what I see in how sales and like go-to-market machine uses Gen AI, it's actually it's actually quite interesting. Their tools are not specifically designed to build something new, but rather, so think about this. Salesforce is now you can it basically has Gen AI integrated in this. HubSpot has Gen AI integrated in this. What else do we use? Clary. So Clary has AI like assistant, etc. Call recording. Our team uses this in their sales team uses this in their daily life, and thus they're way more comfortable than they used to be in a couple of years ago. However, I want to make sure that this is being recorded. As soon as we start getting into some technical stuff, we always want to bring our tech team, because our
Mhm.
sales team is great, but they also know their limits, and I believe that this is good. As soon as you're above your limit, stop talking, say, great, I'll bring our head of data department on the conversation. When do you want to have the next call? So that's how we train them to, you can speak within your limits, within the knowledge parameters, but then as soon as you're out of your depth, bring someone who knows the exact details.
Awesome. What do you see, just kind of looking ahead, looking forward? Like, what is making predictions is perilous, of course, but like, what do you think is going to happen in the next 2-3 years? Like, how far is this technology going to evolve in like, are we just scratching the surface of like developer productivity and data generation and things like that? Or is it actually going to get exponentially better?
Okay. Can I start, Rusty, with something that I personally am looking forward, and then I will give you my.
Yeah.
It's a very thankless job to make predictions, but I will tell you what I'm very much looking forward. I want, and right now we're somewhere in the middle. I want ChatGPT to tell, hey, I like to fly. If that's less than 4 hours, book me this flight. If that's more than
Mm.
4 hours, book me that flight. Give me by the aisle, and no more than whatever the number of dollars. $1,000 is the limit within the United States. Great. And then that's it. The flight is booked on the same date that I want, with the parameters that I want, on the website that I want, and it used my Delta status, etc. It all matched, and it's on my calendar. I know that this is very tiny small thing, but I actually believe that in order to get there, Gen AI has to evolve. At least a year will pass, and I probably will still not see that yet. With agentic AIs, we're somewhere there, but also it just doesn't work the way how I described. And I hope it will be in 12 months from now, it will be the case. It will work. The second thing that I'm personally looking forward is, how do I become way more efficient and not forget anything? I know that that's a human nature, but look, I have my mailbox, right? And for example, my assistant has access to my mailbox. If I send someone a note saying, hey, let's meet for coffee, great. And then I get the response. And then let's say that I'm on a meeting, and 4 hours later, someone needs to answer and book the meeting and get it in the calendar because we already discussed all the details. The person answered yes. I want Gen AI to go scan through my mailbox and basically all the actionable items that I allowed it to do it. And then tell me what you've done in the short daily summary report. And then I will check correct, incorrect. And then if that's incorrect, let's learn, let's iterate. And the next thing that it will do, and then they, I don't know, this Gen AI will do is going to be better. So those are two things that I'm personally looking forward in order to say that, wow, that now my life is way, way easier. But in terms of the predictions, so our company sponsored previous TED AI talk in San Francisco. It's a yearly conference. I highly recommend you guys to attend it if you have a chance. And if you don't have a chance to attend, they actually release their recordings. People with way bigger brains than I am were given predictions, and merely 6 months later or 7 months later, I'm looking at this like, you were not right. Okay, so now how poor Andrey can predict something that way smarter people couldn't, I don't know. Well, here's one thing that I can bet my paycheck on. In 3 years, I can guarantee that 2 jobs Gen AI will replace, and then one company that it will be. It will have to evolve in order to not become obsolete. Job number 1 is truck drivers on the well-mapped routes between major cities, at least in the United States. It will do it. And second, I believe that we will see at some point in the not so distant future empty warehouses, which we're already seeing, but Amazon delivery and everything being automated to the point which we just don't have this right now. Right now, we're still, look, there is a lot of news about Amazon, but what they are not known for is how well they treat their associates on the floor. It's like, but there is no need to treat anyone because those warehouses will ultimately be empty of people. And hey, you don't need air there. You don't need to warm them. You don't need to provide AC. In 3 years, robotics and Gen AI that pushes this robotics forward will get it done without anyone. And then one company that I believe will have to evolve is Uber. Actually, there is an example. I went to the TED AI conference in San Francisco. San Francisco is obviously a very special city in terms of adoption, and what kind of crowd we got on the TED AI conference it's a very those are early adopters by and large. They love the new stuff. I'm one of them. Here is what's happening. The conference is in the Ferris building, and then the after party is somewhere else. 80% of the people took Waymo to get from one point in San Francisco to another point. 20% took Uber. 0% took cab. This 80% who took Waymo, the way how they got it was so natural for them because it's the same app. It was a big shift to move people from calling the cab to actually downloading the application, entering the credit card details, etc. So now everyone can do this. Everyone has done this already. Waymo came and took it by storm because Uber already paved the way for them. And I know that in some cities, Uber is actually partnering with Waymo in order to, you can order Waymo on Uber. However, I think that Uber will need to do something about it because if there is a way for me to not be in the Uber, but be in the driverless car, I will absolutely do this. And again, maybe this is just me, but I also have seen how other people switch, and the switch there is no barrier to switch. It's extremely low. So that's my prediction. I believe we'll see way more driverless cars, self-driving cars in the future. And obviously it will be limited to major metropolises who are highly mapped right now, but hopefully with time it will expand.
Interesting. Thank you for that.
I'm looking forward to rewatch it in 3 years and
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yes. That's gonna be our clickbait.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
No.
So I was thinking a little bit. Oh, do you
No,
have
you
a
go ahead.
follow-up
Go ahead.
question? Okay, because I'm thinking a little bit about closing thoughts here. We can end on that, but we're on our hour soon. But I do have like kind of a personal question for you if you'd like to end our closing thoughts with. Okay, so if you could go back and give yourself some early career self one piece of advice, what would you tell yourself?
Don't be that self-confident and don't be afraid to ask for help. And I'm dead serious about this. There is more, not just asking for help every random person. That includes go and build a board of advisors that I started 5 years later than I should have done. Go and build a board of fiduciary board of directors who observe how you work. And that's honestly uneasy. Having voluntarily put someone above you and give them the power to manage you, manage the company, and assess your performance. And I wish I've done this before. It's not that I cannot work without the observation. I very much can, and I brought Distillery to where we are with some help, obviously. But I really wished to my Andrey minus 10 years old to go and do this now. What the hell are you afraid of? Are you afraid to not be the smartest guy in the room? Fantastic. I want to be the stupidest guy in the room, as a matter of fact. That means that people who surround me on a call, actually on this call as well, I'm okay to be the stupid guy.
Well, I don't think you're the stupid guy. But I share your sentiment that I actually feel really uncomfortable if I sense that I'm the smartest person in the room. It does not happen very often, but I do feel that discomfort when I sense it. Well, thank you so much for coming on. This has been fantastic. I really enjoyed this conversation, and just, best of luck with everything. And yeah, and we'll definitely replay these predictions in a few years and we'll all laugh because I've made equally, I made similar predictions and I'm sure they're funny in retrospect.
Thank you so much. You guys are so nice, so warm, so welcoming. And yeah, it's been great. Thank you so much. I didn't realize that we were talking for an entire hour. Obviously, I was talking more, but that makes it even worse.
That's why you're here. That's what we want. We don't want to be the ones talking. I really appreciate you reaching out and wanting to try this out. We were really excited. We haven't just reached out to the public and seen who wants to come talk with us. So I appreciate it a lot. Thank you.
Great. My network is your network. If you want to reach someone and I'm connected, more than happy to put you guys in touch.
Thank you so much.
So cool.
That's great.
Thanks so much, Andres. Thank you. Opinions expressed on the one-on-one belong only to us and our guests, not to any of our respective employers. Speaking of that, does this platform call to you? Do you need a one-on-one? You can find us on the web at theoneonone.show. That's the number 1 on the number 1.show, where you can sign up to be a guest. You can also find us in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and YouTube by searching for The One-on-One. Please rate and review us on those services. It really helps us out. The One-on-One wouldn't be possible without listeners like you and a fantastic community of people who help us in large and small ways. Special thanks to Cameron Cooper, who helps us with marketing, Michael Ducharme, who created our bumper music, and Elena Sayaj, who's been a huge booster since day one. Thanks for listening.